The narrative. Evil Dead and Dead Silence help with the narrative for our trailer. Evil Dead is based on demons and spirits being released from a videotape. This causes the group of people in the film to become possessed as they get injured and hurt. Dead Silence wakes up a ghost. This is similar to my narrative, as the necklace that the victim takes wakes the villain, Lilith. We took the name Riley from a horror movie called Detention. The name Riley connotes bravery and strength, so we thought that the name suited the final girl because the final girl is meant to be strong as she survives ordeals. Survival is a key part for a horror movie. Lionsgate production logo was used in my horror trailer because the production logo is usually incorporated in a trailer. I didn't want to use the old Lionsgate logo like the one shown in the Devil's Reject trailer. I wanted to use the most recent one, which can be seen in the beginning of Your Next trailer and Texas Chainsaw 3D trailer. Genre of the trailer. The genre of the trailer was horror. The subgenre was a supernatural horror. We decided to use supernatural horror as the ghosts included in our trailer, and ghosts are normally featured in supernatural movies. Supernatural themes include curses, which is what the chain represented in the trailer. The chain being taken from the grave made the victim come alive. It's never a good idea to mess with the dead. The idea of the cursed object came from watching other horror movies with cursed objects. I watched Drag Me to Hell, The Ring, and Night of the Demon. Drag Me to Hell had a button as the cursed object, a videotape as a curse in The Ring, and a possessed parchment in Night of the Demon. We developed the ideas of the objects by finding something different that could be cursed. A necklace was a piece of jewelry that hadn't been used yet. Conventions of a trailer. I looked at the different conventions of a trailer and only listed some. Unusual angles are often used to show events or characters. In my trailer, there are some shot types that are unusual, such as the candid angle. Showcasing the stars of the film is a convention of a trailer. The villain is the main character in the trailer. She's showcased a lot alongside the victim as well. Lois played a minor part in the film, which is why she was only shown in fewer scenes. As the villain is the main protagonist in the film, I wanted Dawn to have the most clips in the trailer to highlight her importance. The victim is shown in the trailer a lot as well. Majority of the time, she's seen being followed by the villain or attacked by the villain. This is showing the story of, but not giving too much away. In Jennifer's Body trailer, Megan Fox is the star of the film, and she's showcased in it quite a lot as she's the villain and the main character. Amanda Seyfried stars in the film as well as a victim, but she's not featured as much as the villain because the villain is the one who causes the most conflict. Voiceovers are typical for convention of a trailer. They are used to tell a story and give credit information. At the beginning of my trailer, it says,
"That's a nice necklace. Where'd you get it?"
And then the established shot links to where the necklace came from. The voiceover introduced story. At the end, she says, "Riley, you need to return this necklace." The story has concluded, but it's the voiceover that was used at the end after all the action that has happened. We wanted to let the trailer reach a climax so the audience would realise the necklace is a curse, which is awakening the dead. I used the idea of voiceovers after I watched I Still Know What You Did Last Summer trailer. The voiceover insinuates something bad has happened. It says, "But she could never escape her past." It then transforms into a series of fast cuts and action scenes to progress the story. The voiceovers don't give too much away, but give just enough away to allow the audience to get a gist of what the movie's about. Music playing an important role in creating atmosphere is vital for the conventions of a trailer. The music used in my trailer changes at different scenes. Fast-paced music is used to create a build-up, and then it slows down at the climax point. Sorority Row is a movie that I've watched, and I watched trailers to gain inspiration for the music in my trailer. The music used in the trailer becomes fast at the end. During fast cuts, and this happens in my trailer as well. During fast cuts in my trailer, the music pace and pitch increases. Music is important in a horror movie. It creates a menacing vibe. Sounds. Non-diegetic sounds. These are sounds that have been added in post-production. The non-diegetic sounds that we used in our trailer were heartbeats and the scream. Screams are typically found in horror movies as it shows the fright from the victim. I got the scream idea from the trailer for 30 Days of Night. Screaming was involved in my trailer to show the shock that the victim experienced. We added the heartbeat sounds during the chase scene to emphasize how the victim would have been feeling running away from the villain. She's going to be scared for her life. Running would have made her heartbeat increase severely, so this sound effect was used on purpose to mirror the feelings of the victim. We used the chase scene from Prom Night and Scream. She screams for help, but the strangulation meant no words would come out for Riley, so from the 30 Days of Night, she was screaming for help, but as Riley in my trailer was strangled. Words couldn't come out, so we developed the idea of having a scream. Sound effects. At the end of the trailer, the sounds were enhanced whilst the names of the people starring in the film appeared on the screen. The soundtrack. The music started in our trailer when the chase scene occurred. The chase scene is a typical convention of a horror movie, so we wanted to involve that in our trailer. We developed the chase scene from the film Scream and Prom Night. The music helps set the pace of the scene. The soundtrack sounded sinister enough to fit with the horror genre. It sounds quite peaceful at first, but then the pace quickens and more action starts to happen. In a lot of horror trailers, the music will go from slow paced to fast paced, then back to slow, such as in the trailer for The Purge. Normally in horror trailers, there's a variety of different music, so we've used the idea of having several different songs to fit with the horror genre. Mise en scène. Props. Fake blood was bought as this was used as an important part of iconography. Blood could illustrate death or show injury, which is what is incorporated in our trailer. Blood is mainly on the villain's clothes. The blooded handprint is on the back, which could represent a victim struggling with her, and the blooded hands appear on her back. There's a scene where Shauna's hands are covered in blood. The blood isn't properly visible, but the frightened facial expression of Shauna makes it clear to the audience that something is not right. We tried not to show too much blood on her hands to the audience, to make them wonder what it was that was on her hands. Blood can be found in the trailers for You're Next and The Exorcist. The Bible and candle props were inspired from the film Carrie. We developed the candle scene by changing it and using it. Weapons. The weapon used was a knife, and we took inspiration for the weapon from watching Carrie, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Halloween. Over the course of looking at the horror genre, I took it upon myself to watch some horror movies. In a lot of the horror movies I saw, a knife was the primary weapon that was used to inflict pain or mock the victim, so I gained inspiration from the horror movies I have listed. Colours. The colours used throughout our trailer are mainly black and white with some red at the end for the title of the film. The colours contrast each other but in a good way. These are the main colours associated with the horror genre. Black and white was used for our title in the trailer. The colour black represents mystery, fear, and darkness. The trailer is meant to be mysterious and dark, which is how the villain could be portrayed to an audience. Fear is a feeling that is meant to be evoked from a horror movie. These are typically how the victims in horror movies would feel. The colour red is an intense colour and could show anger and violence. Violence is typically shown in horror movies, and violence is what can be seen for a 15 rated film, which is what my trailer is rated at. The colour white can represent light, faith, goodness, and purity. Faith is represented in my horror trailer when the victim is seen praying as she's been affected by the curse of the necklace. As the subgenre that I decided to do was supernatural horror, I decided to research supernatural horror trailers. The Possession trailer had white text on a black background. This is the same for Evil Dead trailer and The Conjuring. The title of the film is in the colour red, which is what the film The Exorcist has done with their title of the film for the trailer, which is basically what we've used for our trailer titles. Costume, hair, and makeup. Characters being dressed in a certain way will let the audience know whether they are good or bad. The makeup Dawn was wearing was to represent her being dead and to show that it's not normal to walk around with a blooded face. The blooded face will allow the audience to see that something's wrong. It gave her a creepy look. In the trailer for The Final Girl, the girl at the end who plays the final girl is covered in dirt and cuts. This shows the audience that something has happened to her and could give away the location of where she was injured. Dirt could be found in the woods, and the woods is a typical setting for horror movies. The victim usually dressed in casual outfits so that it looks as if they're normal in society. This is how the villain and victim could be told apart, and their personalities can be shown. The costume was inspired from the costume worn by the girl in The Grudge and also the costume worn by Jennifer in Jennifer's Body. This was the costume for the villain. The Grudge describes the curse which linked in with the narrative of my own trailer. Dawn and the females from the other horror movies I've mentioned all have long hair, which makes it easier for them to conceal their face with their hair to appear more scary. We used the colour from the costume and also the length of the costumes. They all reached above the knee. The costume in Jennifer's Body had blood covered in it, which is similar to the costume that Dawn wore as well. Settings. We filmed in a graveyard as part of one of the locations for the trailer. Graveyards appear in some horror trailers. I took inspiration from the trailer for Pet Sematary, which includes a priest being at the graveyard. Instead of a priest, I have developed it and chosen to use the victim as being in the graveyard, so that I could show her picking something from the grave. It shows the twisted side of the victim. Nighttime settings appear in the trailer in one scene where Dawn is standing looking directly at the camera. In horror movies, nighttime settings are a typical setting that appears. It brings more darkness and mystery. The camera. Established a shot is used at the beginning of the trailer. The victim is normally the first person you see, so that the audience can gain insight into their life. You'll see them doing normal activities before the conflict begins. Drag Me to Hell trailer inspired my first establishing shot. The victim is shown first, which is how my victim is shown. Although she's in a location that she typically wouldn't be in, she's still shown first, which makes audience know she's an important character. Canted angle was used to show disorientation. The canted angle shot came when the Bible and candles were shown. This shows how the victim is in a sticky situation that she can't get out of, and religion and faith may not be able to save her. Mid shots are typically used to show the action in the trailer. The audience can see the surroundings and also the character in the shot. The location is important in a horror movie, as typically horror films are situated in woods or isolated places where the victim can't escape. The image I've chosen shows the lack of care from the villain. She's shunned her victim out in the open and doesn't care who sees. A high angle was used to show the villain in bed with the victim. The villain had the necklace in her hand, which emphasizes that the necklace is the thing that has brought so much chaos to Riley's life. How my trailer challenged conventions of a trailer. Well, the villain's face is shown. In most trailers, the identity of the villain remains hidden, and they aren't really shown at all unless it's a shadow. In the trailer for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, there's only ever a black figure shown to keep the identity a secret from viewers. Shadows are used to create suspense and make the audience aware that someone is there, but they aren't going to be revealed. Shadows are better for horror films to create more mystery. For the first half of the trailer, we conform to the conventions of a horror trailer by keeping the villain's face somewhat covered and only showing her costume and quick cuts of her face. The costume was shown to give off that ghosty feel, as ghosts typically wear white. We revealed her face, which isn't typical in a horror trailer. In the trailer for House at the End of the Street, the villain is shown, but it's not evident just from the trailer that he's the villain. As I've watched the movie, I know he's the villain, but the trailer doesn't give that much away. It makes it seem as if the villain is a little girl, but the whole story is not put out there. We showed her face because we wanted to show the use of props. The props such as the fake blood we used on the villain's face to try to make her look dead. Horror trailers typically have a lot of nighttime scenes, whereas my trailer only has a small scene, which is set in the nighttime. To make some scenes darker to make it look like it was set in the nighttime, we had to change the brightness and contrast during the editing process. Also challenging a trailer, we didn't put in the BBF screen or production company logo. The villain in white compared to the victim in black should be the other way around to show their personalities. Villains typically have the dark personality, and the colour black represents who the villain is. The colour white is normally worn by the victim to show their innocence, but in this case we subverted by swapping the colours. Also, the film release date is scheduled for Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is usually associated with love and romance, so you would expect romance movies to come out on Valentine's Day, not a horror movie. It's targeting an audience who hate things to do with romance. Another challenge that was involved was having an all-female cast. Typically in horror movies, the villain is male, but in this instance, we decided to have the villain being a female. There are some horror movies that inspired having the female villain, such as Jennifer Check in Jennifer's Body, Pamela Voorhees in Friday the 13th, Regan McNeil in The Exorcist, and Annie Wilkes from Misery. Majority of horror movies have a male villain. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Michael Myers in Halloween, Craig from Last House on the Left, Norman Bates from Psycho, Jigsaw from Saw, and Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We decided to subvert from typical villain as it was easier working with the females in our group. Our old narrative included Mel, but his timetable clashed with all the timetables of the members in my group, which proved tricky when trying to film. Theories used. Carol J. Clover came up with the Final Girl theory. We applied the Final Girl theory as Shauna, who played the victim Riley, was the last girl standing. She's the main one who was come face to face with the villain. Also, her name is representative of Final Girl in another horror movie. Final girls we looked at in other horror movies were Laurie from Halloween, Sydney from Scream, Ellen Ripley from Alien, and Lila Crane in Psycho. Levi Strauss's binary positions were evident in the horror trailer. The costumes were a good example of showing black versus white. The black and white colours showed opposites and showed the difference between the characters. Good versus evil was evident in the trailer, as the villain was seen to be evil after she was strangling the victim and holding a weapon. Holding the weapon made her seem menacing, especially the way she was staring at it. Todd Wolf's narrative theory was used in the trailer to show the equilibrium and disequilibrium. The equilibrium showed the victim being unaware of the villain making an appearance. She lives her day normally, and there are several scenes where she's sleeping blissfully, not noticing that the villain is about to consume her life. The disequilibrium comes when the destruction starts to happen. The villain engages in violent contact with the victim, and there's no turning back from the curse that has affected the final girl. Propped character theory was used to show one of the characters that he identifies. The villain is the primary character that is shown in every horror film. A villain is needed to progress the narrative and cause conflict and destruction amongst other characters in the movie. Props character theory can hardly be applied to the horror genre and mainly applies for fairy tales. All the characters he lists aren't in my horror trailer, but the villain is. I looked at the film My Bloody Valentine and I assessed that the only character theory that could be applied to the film was the villain. This emphasized the fact that the theory couldn't really apply to the horror genre as well as perhaps some other genres. The film poster. The Drag Me to Hell poster was the real media text I used to help me with making the poster. The woman on the front is having the necklace dragged off of her. The necklace plays a key role in our trailer, and this was the only horror poster that I could find that had a chain on it. For the way the credits looked on the film poster, I used the Conjuring film poster credits to help me. The size on the Conjuring poster was the size that I wanted, and also the way the font looked was the look I was going for as well. It's conventional for the credits of the film to be at the bottom of the poster, and both my film poster and the Conjuring poster conform to the conventions of a poster. For the poster as well, I got inspiration from a few horror posters for the colour scheme. The colours typically associated with the horror genre are black, white and red, so I made sure to have those colours on the poster. The Omen, Saw 4, One Missed Call and Scream made me stick to the colour scheme as I felt the colour scheme was effective on their posters to make the poster stand out. I also used the Entertainment magazine cover and the film poster that featured Carrie on it to inspire having Dawn on both the magazine cover and the film poster. I felt it would be a good idea to have the villain appear on both the magazine and the film poster to demonstrate to the audience that she plays a huge role in the trailer. The way we challenged the convention of a poster is I couldn't really find any with a 15 certificate on them or even having a certificate on the poster. The reason I decided to put the age certificate on the poster was because we decided to not include the green screen in the trailer. The green screen normally lets audience know that the preview has been approved for appropriate audiences, but we just wanted to make the age identifiable. For the magazine, an Empire issue from March 2001 features some similar things like my magazine cover. The Bloody Valentine special was used on my magazine cover just like it was used on my issue. The Bloody Valentine special also came from watching My Bloody Valentine. The name of the film helped inspire the cover line. The horror films Annabelle, Oculus and Tusk helped us come up with the movies to feature on the horror magazine cover. Typically, on magazine covers, the features that are added are out of relatable things to the genre, and these movies were relatable to the horror genre. Lastly, on the March 2001 magazine cover, it says, "What's cooking?" and then it says Hannibal, Heads Up, Empire's Bloody Valentine special. On my magazine cover, it says Cooking for Cannibals. We got the inspiration and we developed what the saying was. We changed it to Cooking for Cannibals because it sounds quite bloody and it sounds like it would belong to the horror genre.